Hey guys, two reviewers here today, and we got a new thing for you.
Yep, we're going to do the top 12 James Bond films.
Keep in mind guys, this is a personal list, and we do prefer more of the comical Bond.
So enjoy.
So number 12 is Inspired Love Me, released in 1977 and stars Roger Moore as Bond.
The villain is Karl Stormberg, and he has a vision to create an underwater paradise by causing nuclear war above the Earth.
And this will involve Moscow and New York causing World War III because Stromberg would launch 2 nuclear missiles at the cities.
The most memorable point of the film, though, is the henchman called Jaws. He's not the shark, but he's a man with killer teeth, and he's really tall.
And Jaws is one of the biggest positive things about this film.
Observe Mr. Bond, the instruments of Armageddon. And that's why The Spy Who Loved Me is a well-deserving number 12.
At the number 11 spot, we have The Living Daylights, a 1987 Dalton film, and it's a great film.
The plot may be complex, but there's other things we like about the film. It has a really great car chase, the music is fine, and there's some nice battle scenes at the end. It's kind of similar to Rambo 3.
Yeah, it takes place in Czechoslovakia, so you get a lot of nice scenery and architecture from the country. And overall, while it is complex, I think this is one of the best Bond films for the more serious Bond. There's not a lot of jokes and puns in it, but it brings a serious nature that's believable, and that makes it a great film.
Don't think, just let it happen. And that's why Living Daylights is well deserving of the number 11 spot.
Number 10 is On Her Majesty's Secret Service, George Lazenby's first and only take as James Bond, released in 1969, and it is definitely one of the most dramatic Bond films.
While it's definitely not the best Bond film out there, it does have a cool plot. It takes place in the Alpine Mountains. There's some awesome stunts. And Bond ends up in a chalet with a bunch of women who are diseased by Blofeld and are going to go to countries to, disease them.
And also starts Terry Savalas as Ernest Blofeld, who gives a pretty good performance as Blofeld. And the villains are not as strong this time, but they do their job.
We have all the time in the world, and that is why On Her Majesty's Secret Service is well-deserving number 10 spot.
For the number 9 spot, we have Man with the Golden Gun. It's a Roger Moore film, and it's one of the more intuitive James Bond films out there.
The plot is pretty confusing, but I'll explain it. Francisco Scaramanga, played by Christopher Lee, wants to hunt out James Bond, but he also wants the Solex agitator, which would power his solar weapons on his home island.
Yeah, but the star of this movie isn't the plot, it's the characters themselves. Roger Moore plays a great Bond, Christopher Lee plays a great antagonist in Scaramanga, and there's a midget called Knick Knack who's hilarious, and they battle it out in this fun house, and it all comes out to be a great James Bond flick.
Ours is the loneliest profession, Mr. Bond. And that's why Man with the Golden Gun is well deserving of the number 9 spot.
Number 8 is The World Is Not Enough, Pierce Brosnan's third James Bond film, and it was released in 1999.
It stars 2 villains in Electra King and Renard, who are both pretty much wanting global domination.
Yes, they try to use a nuclear bomb to blow up Istanbul so that the King pipeline can get a monopoly on the oil.
The Bond girl is Christmas Jones, and she's annoying, okay? She ruins the film.
Yeah, and this is also Desmond Llewellyn's last film as Q, which is pretty sad.
Yeah, and John Cleese is in it, and he's pretty funny. So overall, pretty good film.
I thought Christmas only came once a year, and that's why The World Is Not Enough is a well-deserving number 8 spot.
At the number 7 spot, we have Moonraker, a 1979 Roger Moore film based off of the Star Wars craze going on at the time, and because of that, it's generally panned by critics.
It is definitely one of the most over-the-top James Bond films, but that's what makes it so enjoyable and so memorable.
The main villain, Hugo Drax, wants to build a master race in space by poisoning all the humans on Earth.
There's also a fair amount of comedy in this because Jaws comes back, which is great, and you also get nice scenery in Rio as well as Venice.
And who doesn't love seeing James Bond in space shooting enemies? Come on, it's awesome.
Take a giant step back for mankind. And that's why Moonraker is well deserving of the number 7 spot.
Number number 6 is License to Kill, Dalton's second and last outing as James Bond, and it was released in 1989.
It's the first Bond film to take a real dark approach, and you can tell this by its PG-13 nature, and it deals with more mature matters like drug dealing and all that.
So the plot is basically James Bond getting revenge against this drug baron called Franz Sanchez because he killed Felix Leiter's wife and also cut off his legs.
There's also a really funny henchman called Dario who throws some great one-liners.
The film is pretty violent overall, and its excitement value is really high.
You give your wife a nice honeymoon, and that's why License to Kill is a well-deserving number 6 spot.
We have now reached the top 5, and rounding up the top 5, we have Goldfinger, probably Sean Connery's best performance.
The plot of the film is pretty simple. It involves a rich businessman called Auric Goldfinger who plans to blow up a nuclear device in Fort Knox.
This will radiate all the gold for 80 years and will make his gold value worth a lot more. Goldfinger is probably the definable Bond villain, as it's the first time besides Blofeld you have a signature Bond villain. His henchman Oddjob is also incredibly awesome, and it adds a lot more to the production value.
And what can you say? Goldfinger's a classic, nothing else.
No, Mr. Bond. I expect you to die. And that's why Goldfinger well deserves the number 5 spot.
Number 4 is Diamonds Are Forever, Sean Connery's official last James Bond film, and it was released in 1971.
Diamonds Are Forever takes a more comedic approach to the Bond films, and more films fall this way with Roger Moore.
So the plot is that James Bond goes to Las Vegas to search for these missing diamonds until he figures out that Blofeld wants to use these diamonds to build a space laser to hold the world at ransom.
But the plot is just a side story. It's the incredible one-liners. This film is filled with them, and they really help the movie.
It is definitely one of the most comedic and entertaining Bond films ever.
How kind of you, Mr. Kidd. The children will be so thrilled. And that is why Diamonds Are Forever is a well-deserving number 4 spot.
At the number 3 spot, we have Live and Let Die, which stars the debut of Roger Moore.
The intro also has one of my favorite scenes, which is the scene where the man gets stabbed in the parade in New Orleans.
Yeah, the main plot of the film centered around Mr. Big, or Dr. Kananga, and he wants to overflow the drug market with free heroin, and then everyone will come back to him and pay money for heroin. It's a pretty cool plot line and has some real cool villains.
Live and Let Die also features probably one of the best Bond chases ever.
Not to mention the great opening song, which makes it a well-deserving spot on the list.
My regards to Baron Samedi, right between the eyes. And that's why Live and Let Die is well deserving of the number 3 spot.
At number 2 is an underrated masterpiece called A View to a Kill. Now, this is probably the most underrated Bond film ever, and is panned by critics because it is too over the top and has a ridiculous plotline.
Yes, the villain Max Zorin is pretty much this sicko who, in the turn of the movie, actually kills his own men, rarely seen in Bond films.
The plot is very similar to Goldfinger. Max Zorin wants to blow up Silicon Valley so he can get a monopoly on the microchip market.
Yes, there's so many funs and puns in this. It's just a wonderful experience to be watching.
Overall, it is an excellent fun time.
Highly recommended.
From A View to a Kill. And that is why A View to a Kill is a well-deserving number 2 spot.
So here we are. We've made it through numbers 2 to 12, and only one film remains.
We love all the Bond films except for Never Say Never Again, which was a disgrace to the Bond franchise. But our favorite Bond actor is Roger Moore for his comedic value and how he revolutionized the Bond franchise.
I like Pierce Brosnan a little bit more, but hey, to each their own. And that's why the number 1 overall film for Bond is Quantum of Solace. No, we're just kidding. That's number 22. Which one is number 1? Find out now.
And the number 1 film is GoldenEye. Yes, to us Bond fans, this is a perfect film. There's tons of villains, tons of action, and a great storyline.
The plot is basically James Bond going after 006, who was his best buddy, until he framed his death, and he has to go stop him from causing economic collapse with a satellite called GoldenEye.
Yeah, there's some great subordinate characters like Xena and Boris, and the whole film really fits well together. There's also a great video game based off of this, but hey, that's another time. Anyway, great film, great action, great storyline, just leads to an amazing Bond experience, and this one should not be missed by any action fan.
For England, James. And that's why GoldenEye is well deserving of the #1 spot.
We hope you enjoyed our top 12 James Bond films list. And if you want anything else in the future, please subscribe to our channel. And if you want, you can also add a comment on our channel.
Yeah, if you don't agree with our top 12 list or any of our reviews, PM us, let us know. We'll try and get back to you, and we'll give you some pretty good responses. So, until next time, this is Two Reviewers out. See ya!